I think it's the best way to learn as a young attorney is just to be thrown in. It can be very scary, but honestly, once it's done, it's done. And there's a good chance that you'll be successful if you prepare properly, and just, trust yourself.
I'm excited because we have a special guest, Elaine Loibman Roper, here at Rosen Injury Law, our newest lawyer, and I'm thrilled to have you. So I know this is going to be an interesting one today. So tell me just a little bit about yourself. Where did you go to law school, and when did you start practicing law?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me. I've been enjoying my time here at Rosen Injury. It's a wonderful place to work. So I went to law school at Nova, Southeastern University, as did you. Go Sharks. I graduated in 2021, cum laude. And I've been practicing for about 3 years, but I've been in the personal injury realm for about 10. So I'm like well-versed in personal injury.
See, I should know this. I mean, obviously when you first started here, I knew your entire background, but
Yeah.
But just sitting here right now, like my mind's drawing a blank. So wait, so you've been involved in personal injury for 10 years now?
Yeah.
Well, tell us.
Yeah, I started as a file clerk when I was like 20 years old at a personal injury firm in Broward. And I just worked my way up pretty much. And I worked through law school and undergrad. So yeah, I've been around this for quite some time.
Wait, so what were the positions that you were holding, at that, was it one personal injury firm or multiple?
So I started at one as a file clerk and pretty much worked my way up to assistant and then a paralegal at another law firm. Then I went to law school and came back as an associate attorney.
Wow.
Yeah.
So wait, so I guess, it's funny because I think that background, especially going into like becoming a lawyer, becoming a personal injury lawyer, it has to be like tremendously beneficial for someone because from the ground up how a case starts out and like the basics and the background. Absolutely. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I love it. I appreciate it. Actually, fellow associate here, Christina, had the same background, and we chatted about it, and we found value in it because we can pretty much handle the case, and we won't have to rely on assistants so much because we know the ins and outs of the everyday work, and clients appreciate it as well.
Let me ask you something, because you have that background from being a file clerk to a legal assistant to a paralegal and then a lawyer, does it help you in delegating the tasks or like other things that would be done by a paralegal or legal assistant? Does it help you, or do you feel like maybe you have like too much control or you want too much control?
So actually, I do struggle with the control aspect because I handled my tasks a certain way, so I know how to do it the right way. But I guess the benefit is that I can train, and I do have time to train these associates and these paralegals to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And so, it's a blessing and a curse.
I love that background.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, it's funny because I didn't have the background of being like a legal assistant or paralegal, but when I started out at a personal injury law firm, I was a law clerk all through law school at personal injury firms. And so, or at least part of my time in law school. But when I became an associate, like I really had to rely on myself. Like I didn't delegate a lot of stuff to a paralegal or legal assistant. So I never really really had a good grasp on the role of the paralegal and legal assistant because I felt I was doing a lot of that work.
Yeah, and they're very vital to the firm. I'm a firm believer that paralegals, legal assistants, they are the backbone. They speak to clients daily. They do the groundwork, so they're very important.
No, They are the backbone. They're not just the backbone. They are the heart. If it was a band, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I really do think that they're the lead singer, they're the drummer, they're the guitarist, Absolutely. They're everything. And it's like, we might be like a composer. Yeah. Like we should not get the glory.
That's a great analogy. That's perfect. We are the composers.
Yeah. I see that a lot. Listen, our team here is just, they're phenomenal. I mean, our team is just Absolutely. Amazing, and like you can't like thank them enough for the teamwork and the effort that they put in, and we can't do this stuff without them.
Absolutely.
I was just thinking though, like when I was starting out as a young associate, I didn't delegate a lot. I would keep a lot of it to myself. Like some of the, like, hey, if I need this sent out, that would be done. But like typing up my own letters, doing all my own discovery, calling the clients, going through all that stuff, like I really kept it to myself. And I think it was just how I was trained in the firm that I was trained, was kind of to know the stuff from the ground up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you became a lawyer, but you decided after law school you didn't become a plaintiff's lawyer.
So I did. I did plaintiff's work for some time. I didn't feel as if I was getting the right experience. I just wanted more. So I moved to a defense firm, which is like a little icky for plaintiff's attorneys. But I did get the experience. It was a prominent firm in South Florida, and I enjoyed my time there. But I knew that my heart was with plaintiffs and with helping, individuals instead of insurance companies.
So you spent over a year in a very prominent national insurance defense firm.
Yes.
And I love that background because I think I've never had that. So I never really got to know the ins and outs of how the insurance side works and the defense attorneys and how they have to report to insurance companies. I always wished I knew. Although like maybe sometimes it's like ignorance is bliss. Like we just charge ahead and like we just don't think about that stuff. But I think it really is helpful. And I see it with you, just the knowledge that you have. I think it's so beneficial to our clients to be able to know the inner workings of how the insurance side works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, at first I just wanted the experience. I wanted litigation experience specifically. But after, a year or so, I realized when I wanted to move back to plaintiff side, how important and how beneficial it would be to have that knowledge, at least from the defense world.
Yeah.
And just perspective.
There's so many plaintiff lawyers that shut their mind to what it takes on the other side to actually get things done and to get value on cases. And I think like a lot of law firms, because they don't have that knowledge and they don't have someone who understands it, really is doing a disservice to their clients because they're not, maybe they're trying to hide information. They're not trying to share freely and give the insurance industry or companies what they need to truly evaluate a case.
Right.
And so, I mean, listen, in your time, were you reporting to insurance adjusters and kind of understanding the claims process and the things that they need as far as a checklist and stuff like that to what they need so they can evaluate a case?
Absolutely. So it is very procedural. Working with insurance companies, they do need reports. Everything is reported. Everything that's documented really is important. So yeah, it's pretty much just reporting what we receive from plaintiff's attorneys back to the insurance adjusters so that they can analyze, and they would have to report to their higher ups, and their higher ups have to report to their bosses. So it is very procedural, and it's really systemic.
Yeah, see, it's funny because with me, whenever I deal with an insurance adjuster, and I want to know your take on this, but you have to remember that whoever it is that's on the phone in your normal car accident or slip and fall, whoever you're talking to on the phone is really like low level. They have to report to the next person who really has to report to the next person. And there are these layers. It's almost like going to a car dealership and buying a car. It's like when you sit down with that person, you're going to negotiate. You're literally negotiating with nobody.
Exactly.
I hate to say that. But I mean, is that like kind of your experience?
It is similar, especially there are adjusters that strictly handle pre-suit. So they have no idea what happens outside of pre-suit or beyond pre-suit. So yeah, that absolutely happens. And sometimes these adjusters are just, they're brand new and they're learning as well. So it could be difficult at times to just work, a case and try to get it resolved.
Gosh, I go to the car dealership and I'm trying to negotiate a car, and it's like you got that first person who has to go into the back and talk to the next person. And then eventually there's another person that has to come out. It's like the same in personal injury. It's like you call up the insurance adjuster, and we have it right now. I mean, we just filed suit in a case where you have clearly far in excess of the policy limits. The laws changed in Florida, so the insurance companies are emboldened.
Yep. Yes,
and
they are.
We have to just file lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. It's such a waste of time.
It is. But I mean, I hate to, give credence to insurance companies, but just to put it, in their perspective, they receive an influx of cases, especially after tort reform. So, it's really difficult for them to consider a case or to really hold weight to a case unless, unfortunately, plaintiff attorneys file suit. So they don't really know the severity or the seriousness of this plaintiff until it's filed, and then, eventually they'll resolve the case then, hopefully.
Yeah, and
or go to trial.
Yeah, or go to trial. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of times, listen, we've been seeing it a lot. I mean, tell me what you've been seeing, but I've been seeing we have smaller cases. They don't pay. They offer something very, very low. You file a lawsuit, and the next day they call you up and say, here's the policy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really just them waiting to see, you know, they're just waiting to see if that plaintiff is serious about it, about the case.
Yeah.
Honestly,
you know, and they take advantage because I guess there's some people that you offer $5,000 or $6,000 or $20,000 and it's a big case and the client needs money right away. And listen, we have an obligation. We got to let our clients know this is the offer. It's on the table. And we don't recommend you take it, but we can't. It's your choice.
Yeah.
And I guess sometimes insurance companies, they get away. They get away with paying a low number on a case that could be worth $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 or more.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But the good thing is we have Elaine here who likes to file suit and charge ahead.
Yep.
So tell us, I guess, about your litigation experience when you were with this national firm. Tell us just a little bit about the type of cases you handled there and your experience.
Yeah, I mean, there were predominantly auto accident cases. I had a couple premise liability cases. I had one very interesting maritime law case. It was pretty drastic. But so basically I just, handled hearings, writing motions, dispositive motions, handled depositions, mediations, you name it. So I was pretty involved and all over the place at that firm. It was a great experience. I did enjoy it.
And what I remember, because I think we may have had a case like with you at one time, and I was super impressed. Like, hey, she's litigating this case. She's in it. She knows her stuff. Yeah. And I mean, that's so important. But what I love about those big firms too, I think, personally, is it is a trial by fire.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you anything that you're going to completely sink the ship. But they're going to give you stuff so you can get into court, you can argue motions, you can take depositions. Was that your experience at a big firm, the big defense firm? Yeah,
it was, the beauty was, and also it was very frightening. But you were thrown into a lot of things you have no experience. So I was just thrown into these dispositive motion hearings, and I've never argued in a motion for summary judgment, and it was good. It was just a great experience. And I did appreciate that at that firm where you were just thrown into something.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's so many lawyers. And again, it all depends on what you want, like what experience you want. Yeah. I went to the state attorney's office right after law school. So I was just, anyone who's in law school, you go to the state attorney's office right out, you could be picking a jury the day you're sworn in on a Monday morning, where no other lawyers are having that experience.
I give it to public defenders and state attorney's office. That's a job. That's frightening.
It's fun. It was fun though. It's frightening, but it's almost like, they're not going to put you in these crazy big cases. Yeah. You're going to be on smaller cases where, the risk of, you lose, you get a not guilty verdict. It's not like the world's going to end.
Right.
But you also have that experience of getting in there and really doing it every single day, trial by fire, like making mistakes, fixing it the next time. And, you're learning about picking a jury, and you kind of get your confidence in standing in court and talking to either the judge or the jury or the defense attorneys.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. If you're not going to like a big, national defense firm, I think the first step for a litigator, in my opinion, is going to like a place like the state attorney's office or going to a public defender's office, because you're just thrown into court.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna win, you're gonna lose, and it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to learn as a young attorney is just to be thrown in. It can be very scary, but honestly, once it's done, it's done. And there's a good chance that you'll be successful if you prepare properly, and just trust yourself. Remain confident. And I do think that that's the best way to learn.
So when you were in law school, did you take any like trial skills courses or litigation courses? And would you what kind of courses would you recommend to someone who's in law school who wants to be a litigator?
Yeah. So I was really mainly focused on passing the bar. So I focused on those courses, but I also did take practical courses like trial skills, which was really helpful. We learned how to take depositions and just how to appear before a judge. So those are very helpful, I would suggest. I did take a mediation course, which was pretty helpful, especially if you're considering personal injury. because, there's mandatory mediations in these civil cases. So that was pretty helpful as well, just how to navigate, how to prepare for a mediation so that you have the best outcome for your client. And yeah, there were a few different courses, but those really were the ones that stood out.
You know what I think you just said was probably the most important thing that I've heard of, or a tip for law students out of everything that you just said, which was a lot of good stuff. You said you took the courses that were going to help you pass the bar exam.
Yep.
And so many, it's so funny because you have, I think, a ton of law students, they're sitting there thinking about what area of the law do I want to learn? And then they're really focused on that. And then what happens if they don't study and really focus on passing the bar? They don't become a lawyer.
Absolutely.
Right? So like you can learn an area of the law after law school. Like you can, but if you don't have your bar license, you're not a lawyer. You're not going to do anything.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think what you just said was, that was really smart was, hey, I'm going to focus on what's going to get me to pass the bar the first time. So I take it, it's done. I'm a lawyer and now I can practice.
Yeah. I thankfully I passed the bar the first time, but I did have, colleagues that weren't able to, and it's very, discouraging. So I was just trying to avoid that at all costs. So I really did focus on taking courses that would help me pass.
Yeah, I don't look at it as like a terrible strike against someone for not passing, because the exam is extremely hard, and there's a percentage of people that are very, very smart that just don't make the cut.
Yeah.
But there are ways, I think, for everybody, if they really just focus on what they need to focus on, they can pass it the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's dedication, and again, just trusting yourself.
Was that something that you built up all through law school? Like where like you
much.
Like it was like, okay, like I need to pass the bar. I'm going to really focus on understanding all this stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's what law school is really, just a huge preparation for a bar exam, which it's unfair, but it's necessary to practice. So that is what I focused on, was really just passing and just becoming a lawyer. And also, I mean, on my experience, I did work at these firms, so I did get the practical knowledge and training throughout law school. So that's why I really just took law school to focus on passing the bar exam.
You catapulted ahead of so many other law. I'm just thinking about it, of like the experience that you had of being the file clerk to legal assistant to paralegal to lawyer and going through law school. You were so far ahead of the competition. That's why you're thriving as an attorney, and you're able to. I feel comfortable throwing you into court. Listen, we have a trial coming up. You're trying that case.
You just told me this morning, and I'm like, okay.
You got the case scheduled. You're going to trial, all right? Well, I'll help you get. We'll help you get all prepared.
Yeah, no,
and stuff.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, the best way to learn is just to throw yourself in it, honestly. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing this. We're putting together this a webinar. On a verdict that we just got, the $25 million verdict that we just got.
Yeah,
I had to
congrats.
try a case, and I know it's like unbelievable. It's surreal. But that was a career of mine of honing my skills in the courtroom and just going over and over and like just trying case after case after case. And it really, sometimes these things, they culminate into a moment.
Right.
And I think I'm convinced that everything that I've done led to that moment in that courtroom. And It was like this perfect storm of an insurance company, a big corporation, just saying, we're not paying, we don't believe in your case.
Right.
And we don't believe in your client. And listen, we believed, and so we went up there and,
awesome. I mean, how does it feel to have like a career record verdict?
I've gotten one other verdict that was bigger.
Oh, okay.
Than at one time. I got a $28 million verdict in a tobacco case, but then the Florida Supreme Court ended up taking away $20 million in punitive damages, which was a tough one. The law changed and we ended up losing part of it, but it ended up getting affirmed just recently, which was great. But this one was really like just special, just super special, because it was, this is at my firm, and someone asked me to come in and help them try the case, and I went in from start to finish. It was from picking the jury to putting every single witness on and closing arguments. And listen, it was a very emotional case, and it was a lot of sacrifice and time and early mornings, but that's what being a trial lawyer is,
Right.
And it's being resilient. And people have to understand there's a ton of preparation. And listen, in our office, it's just behind the scenes, no one truly understands the amount of time and effort it takes to help our clients, you know?
Yep.
I see it in you, you know, you're just totally dedicated. And it's so funny, you know, you sit down, we have our meetings and stuff, and it's like you rattle out every single answer, you know what every single client's up to.
I mean, the best thing, especially for young lawyers, is to know your case, you know, in and out, even if you don't know exactly what to do, at least for, you know, the next step in your case. It's always beneficial to know the inside and out, because, you know, your partner will ask you questions to help you, you know, practice and to help you get through the case. So it's just best to always know the facts and just know where your case is at.
That must have been something that you learned at the defense firm too, right?
I did.
I always felt when I was a very, very young lawyer coming at like just getting hired at a personal injury firm, I remember either talking to adjusters or defense attorneys, and I felt like they knew so much more than me about my case. Yeah. And I was embarrassed about it. And so I made a change saying, I need to know more than anybody.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they have, and maybe it's the resources that the insurance defense firms have, whether it's getting, you know, people to help with the medical chronology or getting people to kind of help, you know, it just seemed like somehow they knew about stuff. What is it? What was it? I mean, are there were there medical chronologies created for teams so you kind of be able to see?
Yeah. They're obviously they're going to have the manpower.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a team that's preparing notes and reports, and so it's easier for the attorney that's actually handling the case to be prepared. But also, I think that, you know, if you do take some time aside to prepare notes, reports for yourself as a plaintiff's attorney, I think that saves you a lot of time in the long run, and just to know your case, you know, inside and out. So if you just take some time to review now and just, you know, gather notes and whatnot, I think it just saves you time, and you just, you know, look prepared, and you are prepared to file and all that.
Yeah, I think medical chronologies too. Like, I think we are blessed. We have someone on our team who is dedicated to just doing medical chronologies, and she has a medical background. And what I love about it is just in this recent trial that we got this big verdict. I mean, our client had a very complex, lengthy history, and I sent the records over to our team member, and she came back with a perfect chronology so that I knew every little piece of history, and that if it came up, I was ready for it. I was ready to address it. And I think that's what, you know, I see that with you and your practice. And I think it's just stuff that you learn from having those resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes back to the importance of legal assistants and paralegals. And how
seriously,
how they can help you, you know, become successful and get a great outcome for your client.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny. It's like like in a hospital. It's like how much you need the nurses and the techs and the assistants. You know, I remember my father had like quadruple bypass surgery, right? And I know the surgeon did the bypass surgery, but when he was in this ICU, I remember he was hooked up to so many different things, right? That are keeping him alive. Yeah. That's not the doctor that did that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's not the doctor. That is a team of people that are trained, support, that are there to make sure that this person thrives. And I mean, I that's like our team, you know. I think it's like there's so many moving parts with every single letter that goes out in medical record, and you know. Yeah,
and communicating with clients too. That's every day. Some clients, you know, they're more demanding than others. Yeah. So they definitely help out with communicating with them, which I think is most important. Yeah, and that's one of our core values is exceptional service and making sure that our clients know what's going on and communicating with them. So if there is a trial that comes up, I mean, would you want to try this car accident case? You know, I know you're I will be. I mean, you know, it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a litigator, so I will be prepared when the time comes. Definitely. And what about you know what, you mentioned this before, but you worked with a renowned trial lawyer who I tried a case against years and years ago. We won't get into the details, but he's a phenomenal trial lawyer. Yeah. I mean, this guy and great how minds. He manages everything. Yeah. How was it to be, you know, mentored and just be able to see how he operates? I mean, because they operate at a very, very high level. Well, yeah. Know? I mean, him specifically, he's just, you know, he was a managing partner, but he was very busy. So it was really just like conversations here and there. Yeah. But just those conversations alone, they were very rich in information, and just got a lot of good advice, more so with interacting with other lawyers and also representing your client effectively. But yeah, he's a phenomenal trial lawyer, and I do appreciate the time that I had there, and I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, see, you were lucky to have that experience. A lot of lawyers don't have that experience. You know, I got super lucky at my prior firm where I had several just phenomenal trial lawyers that I was able to go with them to court and eventually like watch them and then slowly do a witness, you know, then do an opening statement, and then eventually, you know, try a case myself and pick a jury, and then go into high stakes cases, and then eventually, you know, kind of get thrown in and say, Eric, this is a big case. Get in there, and you know what to do now. You know,
and I think that's what makes you such a great lawyer.
It's nice to have I think mentorship. That's one thing. I mean, would you suggest for a law student coming out of law school, you know, it's either get the high paying job or find a job that's going to, you know, be reasonable.
Yeah.
But someone that's going to be there that, listen, if you can get both, great, you know, but someone where you're going to get the mentorship.
Absolutely. Mentorship, networking, that's a real bonus when you're coming out of law school. So I do suggest, you know, going out and joining those organizations early on, the voluntary bar associations, and, you know, just meeting people. It doesn't require a lot of power, like manpower, or it doesn't require a lot of
money either.
Yeah,
you know?
It doesn't require a lot of money either. So it's just going out there and just meeting people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need that mentorship. I mean, and I think really like a lot of law students, they should look at the long game. Mm-hmm. So many people, they want to come out of law school and make just tons of money, and they're not looking at if they just sacrifice like a little bit more to learn the skill better and to become a better lawyer, that's going to pay off in dividends later on.
Exactly.
You know, they just, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people want to rush to something that I think they can potentially get capped at. You know, I mean, I know there's a lot of lawyers that they go to these big firms and they got these big salaries right off the bat. But the problem was that from what I saw was it's not easy to, like, when you like, you're going to kind of hit a plateau.
Yeah.
If you're not the one that's rainmaking and bringing cases into these big firms. And it's not easy. Like, if you're at a big, not an insurance defense firm or a big commercial litigation firm or like one of these, you know, big, you know, I'm saying like a business firm.
Right.
Like at 27 years old, 26 years old, 29, 30, like you're not bringing the CEO of McDonald's in to become your new client. You know what I mean? It's not easy to find the CEO of, you know, or whatever company it is to have these clients to rainmake, you know?
Right.
But like I said, I think that sacrificing in the beginning, it's like a doctor, you know, doctors, they do a residency, you know, they get through all this medical school, but before they become that true expert, whether it's a orthopedic surgeon or a radiologist, they got to do their residency. They got to do their fellowship. Right. And during that time, they're sacrificing. But it's the long game.
Exactly.
It's the long game. You've been playing the long game for a while, starting at the file clerk.
Yeah. But honestly, it's been wonderful, and I don't regret any of it. I learned a lot, and I feel like I'm still young, so I can use that to my advantage. Definitely throughout my career.
How was your experience at Nova? Did you like the professors and the?
It was. They were very attentive. I liked my time at Nova. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think it's a great law school.
You know, law school is law school. It was tough, but no, it is a great law school. It's a great law school, and you know the professors are there to help you, even though it's very tough. But it was a great law school. It was a good time.
What is one tip that you would give to a law student that's just starting out, as far as how to succeed through law school? One like major tip. It could be more than one tip. I
mean, you know, it's the usual. Just outline. Make sure you read the cases, but not just reading to read. Actually, you know, digest like the holding and reasoning behind it, because that's what's important in law school. But definitely outlining, get into your study groups, brainstorm between each other, index cards, all of that stuff. But outlining definitely helped throughout law school for sure.
You know, one of the things you just said about digesting also is like really, really important. Like for me, whether it's anything, whether it's in law now or whether it was in law school, is you can't just sit there and read it and try to memorize it and then move on to the next thing. You got to sit back and think about it. Like really like work through it in your mind. So like there's a lot of silent time. Like I used to study and then go surfing. And then when I'm out in the water, I would literally just be like thinking about cases, like criminal procedure and someone's has cocaine in their trunk and then the police officer searches the car and because you know what I mean? I'd be like, you work through that stuff, but there's a lot of thinking that goes on, which I think is
what's
helpful.
important is retention, really, because retention and recall, especially for the bar exam, you have to be able to retain that information. Usually if you condense the rules as much as possible, it's easier to retain and then recall when the time is, necessary for you to pass that bar exam.
And then you take those skills and you translate it to when you become a lawyer.
Yeah.
Right. It's like really like reading your case, knowing your case, digesting it, thinking about it, thinking about every angle. Yeah. They really don't train you to become a lawyer in law school, but there is a mindset of that, of kind of being demanding upon yourself of like really understanding and studying, like really, really knowing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I say you really go to law school, you learn how to learn, or you learn how to, think like a lawyer. It's not really the rule, because the rules are always changing. I mean, we can have case law from 60 years ago that's just been overturned. So, so it's really just learning how to think logically and effectively. So. Yeah.
All right. I love it. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. See, like we had no idea where this was going to go, but I think it was great. So, so we'll wrap things up because, let's see, I have to listen. The law never ends. I have a continuing legal education seminar that I registered for on some new law that I want to sit and watch at lunchtime today, so I can keep up, so that I can spread the word for you guys too, so that everyone knows some of the new changes in the law that are affecting plaintiffs in Florida, because this stuff it's been an interesting ride, and we're all trying, we're working through it, and I think the only thing that I've really noticed is that we just have to file lawsuits, a lot of lawsuits. And I feel bad for the firms that weren't ready to litigate, So, hey, listen, if you're a personal injury lawyer out there and you're not a litigator, give us a call because we litigate stuff.
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
But that's what I've been seeing. I mean, I know you're seeing it too.
Yeah.
So
large influx.
All right, listen, let's wrap it up. This was a pleasure having you. Great job.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's get to it.